Um, well, yeah, thanks for having me. It's always good to have you working with you, Shelly. I remember last year, it was like
I
my
know.
first ever Zoom conference. I was like, "What's Zoom?"
What is Zoom? And now you're a pro. You've been doing them like crazy, in the best way possible. There are so many coaching opportunities that you've been able to provide for agents, and you post all of those on YouTube. So for everyone that's listening or watching right now, do yourself a very huge favor and take time this today or this weekend and go binge watch some content that Dan has provided to you. If you want to figure out how to hold or get some inspiration for holding team meetings and doing some motivational talks, there you go. It's free, amazing content. And then you also been, especially recently, doing a lot of interviews with some top agents in the company and picking their brain. So really great content, good advice, a lot of good things that can be implemented today. So I was watching some of it last night, and which interview was it? Hold on. It was a really good one with
Thanks.
Christopher.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was Elite Agent Talk number
Casanza.
3. That was the title of that one, and it was really good. I got a lot of good content for that one. So
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to next week. Number 4 is actually
yes.
your guys' very own Megan.
Oh, cool!
Yeah,
Awesome.
so
Very
super
good.
looking forward to that. Yeah, your district, um, yeah, it has really. Well, again, so that the Zoom meeting we first did, I was like super nervous. I remember, and then you got me started. So Shelly, you have a big part of like bringing awareness to other agents of how I could help them. So I'm always gonna appreciate you kind of
Oh,
discovering me and
well, I
yeah, working
appreciate
together.
you, and you've done it yourself as the 2019 Personal Lines Agent of the Year. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I had nothing to do with that. I
Well,
just Googled you and or not. I Googled something and stumbled upon you. So we're the lucky ones for sure. And then so we do have some new agents that are on this call right now, and it's being recorded, so we'll be able to send it out too. But we have a lot of agents that are on the call that are super new that did not have the opportunity to hear you speak at our district meeting last year.
okay.
And so this is going to be a really good opportunity for them because I know that they've seen your name. You've been featured on a lot of different calls and trainings. And so we're really excited to get to pick your brain in our smaller group. So thanks again for your time. So let's go ahead and get started. You want to give us an overview of the agency?
Yeah, sure. I started back in 2007, so 13 years in now. Um, our PIF is the last time I checked, it was 980 something. I was like 12 away from 10,000, so I should have checked this morning because I would have been able to say that maybe potentially, but very close to 10,000, which has been a big goal of mine. So I'm very excited about that. Um, yeah, staffing wise, I think there's about if I could count the people that are on maternity leave, that increases to like 13. But I think there's 11 of us in the office today, 11 staff members, 12 with me. But yeah, with everything that's been going on with farmers, it's been a great year. Every year has gotten better for me. It took a lot of patience. I didn't get my first President's Council till this year. So it took me 13 years to get it. So it wasn't one of those agencies where I just got off to a blazing hot start. I was figuring things out. It's just really just the last few years when things started clicking. But in, in general, overall, just super grateful. That's like the attitude I have of the opportunity that farmers have given us, and it has really proven that even times like this that we're very lucky to be in business. First of all, about being able to grow our business with some of the things that's happening in the environment. So I'm just looking at the opportunity, and I feel like hopefully I could give something back to other agents too. So that's where you're helping me, Shelly, be able to do that hopefully today.
Well, I know that our agents are really excited and they appreciate it. What goals did you have for 2020? What goals did you set at the beginning of the year? And then have you revised those mid-year, or do you have any prepared for 2021?
Yeah, for 2020, the goals hasn't changed. I really don't like to use what's happening as an excuse. We have all the opportunities still to produce business, and again, that we're blessed to be in the industry that we are in. Some of the goals we had, they're actually, I have my goals super high, and I'm almost embarrassed to say them because they're so high, and it's almost unachievable. But I still try to, reach really super high goals. So some of them, there's so many of them, but I write them down every day. Right now, I'm writing down like 300,000 in new business premium a month. So we'll get to like 250 some months. So that's something I'm working on. 20 staff members. That's something I'll get, but I'm only at 13, so that actually requires us moving to a bigger office. So some of these bigger goals, I do have, 20,000 in PIF, but I just got to 10, so it's gonna be hard to do. And then just some folio numbers too. We all have like a certain number of folio, whatever that number is. I always increase it by 10,000. I've always done that. So I have some small realistic goals too. But I just write down my goals every day and then I review them. And then every day, it could change. I think that's okay. Sometimes what's on your mind is really important. Like, 100% on double down, I was on there. And then once I started getting used to that, then I have another goal, getting to, different UQI scores, and just a big believer in just writing down your goals every morning and seeing if that changes or not. Because if it changes, that's okay. Because the ones that you write down every day, you notice are, wow, that must be really important to me because this has been my goal for the last 2 months. So you kind of remind yourself like what your priorities are and what you're striving for. But the goals haven't changed, though. You have to answer your question. I think, we shouldn't be reducing our goals. We should be increasing our activity.
What goes into, do you just kind of like pick a random number, or is it all income surrounding, or what are the metrics that you use to determine what your goals are for the year, or for the quarter, or however you like to break them down? Like, what do you look at to factor those things in?
Yeah, I just let my imagination run wild. It's not like really that analytical. It's kind of like, hey, this will be nice. You know, that'd be awesome. And then I just make it a goal so it'll be exciting for me. Like if I were to do this and do this for this many people, PIF wise or staff wise, like I'm helping other people. So
Yeah.
it just it's just something that I just use to get me excited, and then I just figure out the rest later. Because if I get a little too analytical and I say, hey, because of my budget is this, because of my my square feet of the office is this, I can only employ this many people, I think it may actually interfere with searching your thoughts. So I just like to just set goals just based on what makes me excited.
Cool.
It's
Okay,
very
fair enough. So tell us,
it's
you
very
have,
not uh, like scientific or a formula at all.
okay. Well, I think everyone's probably a little relieved that they don't have to run a bunch of reports now to figure out
No.
how to set some goals. Okay, cool. So talk to me about your staffing, because you do have a big team. So what does that look like? How many producers do you have? How many CSRs do you have? How many marketers that are not licensed? What's your dynamic in your office?
So out of like 11 that's in my office today, one person just got her license yesterday, so I'm super excited about her. I was just scrambling getting lunch for everybody, so that's why I was just like ordering who's gonna get to pick it up. So I was trying to like coordinate that. So that's why I'm just kind of like in scramble mode right now. But I would just say, and I'm not sure if this really helps because it depends on what agent situation is, but for me personally, right now the way it's set up is, um, so 9 of them are licensed, 2 of them aren't. Okay. Um, there's about 4 of us, 4 of them that's been here for over 5 years. 7 years, 4 years, so around like more than 4 years at least. they're the ones that are doing most of the sales. Sales is like, the holy grail of the agency. That's like everyone wants to be a sales agent because they get the best leads and they have the highest income. So no one new is going to be able to start off doing sales because you got to know the system, you got to get licensed, you got to know there's so much. Sales is the hardest thing, I think. The middle third, I would say, they're licensed. So about five of them, they're licensed, but they're doing customer service, they're doing FFRs, they're trying to cross sell, so they're licensed, but they're able to service the policies and try to get more sales. And the newer ones, the ones that's got licensed, or the ones that just got hired, who aren't licensed, they're more, they do customer service, but sometimes their work is like clerical or administrative, mails, data entry, getting lunch today, so whatever they could help us out with. But even with that role, they're looking to move up to customer service, and the customer service, licensed customer service, I'm trying to move up to sales. So it's kind of a pipeline of people within the agency that's looking to grow. And I think that's how I paint the career path when I recruit them. Is like, hey, you're going to be doing some simple stuff right now. It's going to be a long journey. I like to paint that picture that, hey, it's not going to be easy, but you're going to start from the bottom. You're going to be folding envelopes. You're going to be data entry, but then you're going to start talking to people. Then you're going to, start doing getting licensed. And once you get licensed, you're going to be trying to cross sell. And then hopefully, 3-4 years in, you're going to be getting leads and making the big money because you've proven to yourself and to me that you know how to sell, you know what you're doing. So that's kind of how I have the roles laid out.
Awesome. I'll say, I said this at the very beginning before you're able to get on, Dan, but along the way, if anyone has any questions, please chat them in because we'll do some more open questions towards the end. So if you have any specific things, we can discuss that. Okay, so I was watching one of your result meeting videos, and what do you remember, if you know off the top of your head, what did your top producing producer sell last folio? Do you remember?
Yeah, 70,000.
70,000.
Mm-hmm.
So about how many quotes does that producer average a month?
I'm not sure, but right off the top of my head, I would think probably like 300.
300. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Do your producers have a minimum sales requirement, or how do you come up with the goals for your team?
For the goals of my team, individually, we just sit down, we talk about our goals. I don't have a requirement because I feel like these goals that we set with my producers, it's like a team goal. It's like me and that candidate has to do this together. I don't think it would be fair for me to say, hey, what's your goal? You have to write this much when I'm not the one providing the lead. So I have to be there. I have to be spending the money for them to be able to put up those numbers. So when someone does something great, I know I had a part in it because I was I invested the money too, and that person did most of the work. But we have to sit down and figure out like, okay, what's our ambition level? How much you want to work, because um, our staff members have a work-life balance, not like us.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally get that. There's some of them are moms. So we just sit down and say, hey, what's our ambition? What do we want to do this quarter? And we just make goals together. And so, but I don't like the angle or philosophy of like, you have to do this or you're gonna get in trouble. So I don't like to have requirements. I don't use that word quotas. It's more like, because if someone just got their license, I'm not going to be giving them that many leads. So let's just get to 10,000. That's the first goal. Like, if you can get to 10,000, that's awesome. You generate those leads, natural market, cross-selling, FFRs. You're able to do that on your own. That's excellent. But it just, and even if a licensed agent is not that great at selling, maybe they're good at training too. So I don't really like to, and it's not really a good expectation to be able to think that everyone you hire is going to be a sales superstar. It's kind of like a DNA thing, you just, sometimes they have it or they don't. Their ambition and their motivation is, everybody's different, and our job is to, it could be increased for everybody, but certain people are just have that sales gene. So when I find that, you can't really even find out until for a while, and some people have it and it goes away, and some people don't have it and they get it later. It's just such a ever flowing, ever changing thing. But my whole thing is to not try to expect them to get a certain number. It's more like, let's do this together, and how can we do this?
Okay. So do you, so let's say a producer isn't producing to what you kind of think that they should be, maybe. So in those scenarios, do you just have that one-on-one conversation, or do you always hold like weekly or monthly meetings as a whole team? Do you do one-on-ones with your team routinely? How do you manage so many staff members and get the production that you're getting?
Yeah, that's a good question, Shelly. So, you know, I do have weekly team meetings, and monthly results meetings. So the weekly meetings, we sit down, um, and we just kind of not talk about sales. We just kind of get to know each other. We kind of talk about like, hey, how's your week going? Tell us, a win from the week. They could even just share like, we just go around and talk about, you know, something positive, something grateful, something that's good that's happening. Like they could have watched something cool, or they may have met like a family member, or just something random. And then we read a motivational book together. And then the monthly one, we'd go over people's number, and I give recognition and I give awards. And then every quarter I have one-on-one meetings, and that's really when I could get really frank with them. I think sometimes as a leader, I'm not that great at just being really blunt and saying things that aren't easy to say. I think some people have that style. I wish I had it more, but I'm a little softer when it comes to team members. I don't say like, hey, you're not doing a good job. It's hard for me to say that. I'm always like saying like, you're doing a good job, you're doing a good job, when sometimes I overdo that a little bit. But the reviews I get, that's the opportunity for me to get really ready for it and really say things that I have to. I only do that once a quarter. I wish I could do that more often. Depending on your staff size, I think, if you, when I was at one or two staff members, it's like having a meeting every day with them. That's the great thing about having a smaller staff, is that you can really, really develop a close relationship and let them know in ways that you're comfortable, like, hey, we could improve here. And what I do is, when I'm out there sitting with them, I am sitting very close to them in proximity, so I could hear them. So the training and the feedback is constant. So I'm always like, hey, maybe you could have said this that way. You could have said, that you probably shouldn't have said. So when it comes to training, it's hard work to literally sit down and someone who's brand new, that to help them how to do customer service, or someone who just got their license, how to sell, to really teach them everything. But that's what we get paid to do. Some of the big picture things, I'll do on the weekends or after work when everyone leaves, like the macro strategy, like how to grow our business, where to buy the leads, how much I want to spend, what type of person I want to hire next. Those type of things I'll do once the day is over on the weekends. But during the day, it's just tactical, just like in the trenches, like what's going on here, what's going on there, just running around and just helping whoever needs help. And that's kind of what we need to do, I think, to help new staff members, is to really hold their hand. It's like having a toddler. They sometimes, like a new staff member, they can't do anything on their own. But that's the type of attention that I give them. And some people may call it micromanaging, but I feel like it's just helping them. It's like, I would hate to be at a job and I have no idea what to do and no one's helping me. So I'm just want to be there with them and just really doing the work. I'm not in my office, scrolling the internet just with my, legs kicked up. I'm out there, like really, really talking to people and really listening and really finding out what's going on with these conversations that my staff's having.
Okay, cool. We're gonna get into a few of the questions, and then I am really excited. I want to dive into the next kind of subject, and I want to talk about how you prioritize and run your team meetings, because I've seen them in video, and I definitely would recommend everyone that's watching to find one at random. They're all great, but how you hold the meetings and in the order and how it flows, I really like and appreciate, and I know the agents would too. So first, I'll let you think on that. But first, we had a question. What lead sources do you feel your producers close the most sales from?
Lead sources, that's a good question. I think that always changes. Some of the lead companies that I use right now, I've used for many years. I think the best lead source I would have to say right now for me is through social media. Just being very active there and having people contact us DMing people, our followers. We have our followers, or we direct them to forms, having them fill out forms. So that's been better than because I've been buying leads for 13 years, but the way I thought about it is like, hey, they're basically getting the lead and selling it to us. So I was thinking, how can I just cut out the middleman and get the leads myself? Basically these leads companies, what they do is they just are online and have people fill out forms and go to their website and fill out forms and things like that. But we're able to do that too. Have them go to a farmer's website, fill out forms. They could fill out a form there. They could, call us or DM us or text us. So social media, I feel, is like a great way for our agency to gain awareness. First and foremost, like if people don't know you, then they can't buy from you. So hey, we exist. We're transparent. We're just friendly insurance agents that are here to help. So that to me is probably the number one source right now, I'd say.
Great. The next question we had was, how much do you invest in buying leads monthly?
So with leads and with social media, so I'll include that all together because I just call that marketing budget. Right now, I'm very aggressive, and I don't really want people to get discouraged when I say the amount because, I didn't start with that, So right now, it's a little over 20,000. That has really gotten high because of the PD and the double down for me just really go hard right now. Get aggressive, I should say. But when I started with $1,000 a month, now $3,000, and my folio started getting higher and higher. So it's just something that I don't want agents to feel like, oh my God, I have to spend that much money to have results. I will say though, it is something that I do believe in when it comes to marketing budget. You do want to audit that and see how much am I actually spending on marketing, because it's very difficult to grow an agency without spending money into marketing. You're just gonna run out of people, natural market people to call. It's really very difficult to have people come into your office now. Very hard to go to networking events. We have to spend the money. So what I've always tried to done is audit my personal expenses. How much am I spending on this? How much am I spending on vacations? How much am I spending on stuff that I actually don't have to? And trying to put more into the marketing budget because over the years that it has paid off. So in the beginning I could understand, and everybody has different risk tolerances, but I do believe in, spending, and we're talking to other bigger agencies too. Really, some of the difference makers is just the willingness to risk their money into their business. And that goes with staff too. So with marketing and staff, I think in general, we can't overspend on that, because eventually it's going to come back. It's not going to help your next folio, but if you're in the long game, then spending money on your business is always been a good idea, and proven for almost all businesses, to be able to advertise. That's why people advertise. That's why all businesses have to have some type of marketing campaign or effort to get the results.
How many different types of marketing ponds do you think that you fish in? So one of them would be social media marketing. Another would be buying leads. About how many other different things are you doing, or what would you recommend to an agency who really needs to get back started into marketing but wants to do a lot of different things, what do you think is manageable, and what would you advise on that?
Yeah, I think the old adage of having five different leaf companies or five different leaf flows, I think it's a little too spread thin. I'd rather have, if I just have one and just spend all my money on that, and if it works great, then it's like, why would I spend some of my other budget on something that's not as great? So I like to have two. So I like to have one main source and I like to have a backup. And then, maybe spend 80% of my budget on one and 20% on another one. For a newer agent, I would just say, hey, you got to just find one source that works for you. It's kind of difficult to be really into five different sources. It's okay to just have one and maybe one backup just in case something doesn't work well with that one. So I will stick with two and have 80%, if not more, into that one source. Something that really works for you. That doesn't have to be social media. That doesn't have to be internet leads. I, I can't think of anything else. But I'm sure there's so many different ones that have worked well for people. Mailers. People calling other agents. I mean, people, telemarketers. Not my style, but they work too. But I think I will say I do believe that finding one source that works well for you and really going hard or getting aggressive on that one source is, I think, better than having five multiple sources that kind of like is inconsistent and not working. They're working so.
Okay, cool. Very good. Okay, then we'll answer a few more questions in just a minute. So feel free to keep adding on to the great list that we've already started. So let's jump into the team meetings, because when I worked in agency, and I always tell my agents this, team meetings are the greatest thing to happen. And if an agency isn't continuously and regularly holding a team meeting, I truly do not believe that you'll be able to hit the goals that you set, because sometimes your staff, well, 100% of the time, your staff won't care as much about your business as you do, right? So you have to keep those numbers in front of them. So, and you do a really good job of motivating them and providing them additional training resources. So can you give us an idea of, when you're doing your team meetings, not necessarily the awards, because that's kind of another topic I want to find out more about, but what information do you always bring to the table, or is it something new every time? Like always pulling a certain goal numbers, and what information do you usually share during those meetings?
Yeah, during the meetings, I just start off with what we did in new business premium for the previous month, and then I kind of ask around to make sure they're kind of know. You don't want to have staff members that have no idea how we're doing. Are we doing good or bad compared to other months? That's a tracker I send out daily anyway, so they should kind of keep an eye on it. So by the end of the month, we're like, hey, we're almost close to 250, or like, hey, we're not doing that great, but let's try to finish strong. So it's very important for the team to know what the score is. It'd be difficult to get motivated in a sport game if you didn't even know what the score is. So letting them know how we're doing is the first thing. So at the end of the month, no matter what we do, we say, hey, this is what we're finished up with. This is our third best month out of the year. This is the best month out of the year. This is the worst month of the year. It's just numbers don't lie. We just share what the numbers are, how we did compared to other months, what trajectory we're on. We're doing better, or we're going down, or how we're doing compared to the rest of the year. So that's number one. And then I get into the awards. I think awards are great. It's an opportunity for us to recognize our staff members. They work so hard. It's not easy what they do. I mean, selling an insurance policy, I mean, it's something to be appreciated. And I think there's also human nature. We all have a competitive side, so I kind of lean into that. There can only be one first place finisher, second place finisher, third place finisher. But no matter what side your staff is, I think it's very important to just make them understand that you're very grateful for their work, with what they're provided. And if you have two staff, then you can boom. I remember when I had one staff, I had awards to see if you could beat me or not. I had a trophy and we passed it around. It's just like competition is just something that I've always naturally gravitated to. So having awards, having trophies, recognizing them. When I had one employee, it's like, well, the first time the employee was able to beat me, I made a big deal out of it because I was genuinely happy for that person. Um, so recognition, I think, goes a long ways. And then you could recognize that person on social media. So when we're soliciting for insurance, they're like, oh, okay, this person is a winner. She's doing good. That they're getting awards, and that trust level goes up too. So the awards help out with their employee morale and for like sales and trust with prospects too. And then I just go into whatever that's on my mind for that month. Last month we had some COVID situations with team members and family members, so it was a challenging month for us. So I just put that out there, like, hey, how to handle adversity. Adversity is something we could learn from. Or sometimes we had a killer month, and I'll talk about, hey, we had a killer month, but what we have to do here is stay hungry. That was like the whole message. And some months it was about, not that great, how to stay positive. So every month is just different. So whatever resonates with them. But I think that's something, as agency owners, it's a great skill to learn, is to how to motivate people. I think that's something that, I remember when I first, just like the Zoom conference call, when I first had my team meetings, it was like people I've paid money to, and they're coming to meetings, and I still will get super nervous standing up there with like 3 people in front of me. So I'm not naturally a natural at talking to people in front of a group, but it's a learned skill too, because I knew how important it was. Because after those meetings, I see them go out there, and the energy on the phone is different. So I do believe in it, and I feel like it's my job, because as the agency owner, no one should be even remotely close to motivated as I am. So I just want to help their motivation level go up any way I can. The compensation is important, so I'm very open about who made what type of money. Recognition works. Making sure they feel appreciated, part of a team. That's another concept too. Everybody gets motivated in different ways, but I want to just try every single angle and see what works for everybody, because what we do and how we talk to them and how we communicate with them definitely makes a difference in their performance.
Definitely. That's something that I've always, ever since we started talking, I have always respected about you is the culture that you've created in your agency. And so a few of those topics that you mentioned that you've discussed with your team are you can find them on his YouTube. You can find them on his YouTube. They're all recorded. I believe there are also 2 other videos on there that are called How Not to Get Fired. And so I feel like those are pretty good too. So lots of good information there.
Yeah, that's a good point, Shelly. I think one of the things that I kind of lean towards a little bit too much is I'm overly nice, and that's something that I think is hard for us to get to. But in general, I do believe being a nice is better as a boss. Like, I think being a nice boss is better than being a mean boss. But if you go a little bit too much to the extreme, then you start getting people, and it's my fault because I was just too nice. Then you get into entitlement, So every once in a while, I have to. First of all, I think it's fair for me to let them know, like, these are just, you can't do. These are ways you can get fired. And I think one of my recent quotes that I just came up with out of nowhere, and I like to send my team quotes every day. So I think of a quote and I'll email to them. So one of the quote was it was something like, when people try to take advantage, I have to remind people that I could get savage. So I would just say stuff like that, because I would, I have fired people, so that is, the balance where I could be too nice, but you can't take advantage of me, where you just, you think you could do everything. So it is a balance. I don't want to steer people to being too soft. So I like to balance it with the reality that, hey, my job is to make sure we have the best possible team here. And if someone's not, if it's bad attitude or bad activity, meaning work ethic level is just too low, or the attitude's bad, then those are the type of things that, there are some things that I have to stick with when it comes to principles.
Yeah. So you talked about awards. So you do first, second, and third place. Is that right?
First, second, and third place, yeah.
So giving awards and making that a big deal and recognizing your team members after folio close, you do that really well. I believe you also even list like how many phone calls they made that month or how many quotes they did. And so I think that's really important. It's really good perspective for the rest of your employees. So besides the recognition and the overall great culture, how else do you incentivize your team members, your sales team members in particular?
Yeah, thank you, Shelly. I think that's a good point that I want to go back to, like, because sometimes I get a question like, hey, if they're not licensed, how can I, reward them for their effort? I just literally just count how many payments they took, how many phone calls they made, how many phone calls they took, how many hours are on the phone. So even at the most basic level, we could still measure activity. So I like to do that. And even if they're not first, second, or third, I would just say, hey, this person had more phone calls, took more payments, got more 5-star reviews. Just it's easy to, well, it's not easy. It's a little time consuming, but it is easy to track performance and activity. And I like to recognize even non-licensed people. Oh, if they're doing a good job, I think it's good for us to recognize that. But yeah, how else do I
Offer any monthly bonuses or, in particular with Double Down, and not all of our agents that are on this call are eligible for Double Down. Some of them, we got some good career agents on here, but for any type of bonus program, are you utilizing any of that money to motivate your team, or are you just kind of pumping all that cash flow and back into the agency for marketing?
good question. A little bit of both.
Mhm.
When it comes to Double Down, and I'll throw some numbers, uh, but I just I just in general feel it's very important to incentivize people in different ways. Like I said, recognition, being part of a team, pumping them up with, like, my great meetings. I don't think they are, but those are great. But at the end of the day, we come here to make money. So if there's any financial incentives, then all this may not be working. So I'm a big believer in just rewarding performance. So when it comes to Double Down, the 4 month contract I have, I don't know how much I'm gonna be ending up paying out, but I think it's gonna be close to like 20,000. One agent's gonna make 5,000. She's already at 5,000. We have a few more days left. Another agent, not 4,000. Multiple agents with multiple thousands. So it's gonna add up to about that number. But I'm just saying that because I do believe, and even my commission structure too. I'm gonna have an agent here, that's gonna make 100,000, and I think I'm really proud to say that. And I just want, and I tell people that too. She's on track to make 100,000. I tell you in the beginning of the year that this is her goal. It's it's possible to make money in this business, and it's important for the new people when I recruit people to see that example, great example of like, hey, if I really work hard here, this is the possibility. And without that financial, you can still do a lot without it, but in general, if you have somebody that's a winner, that's motivated, I would I would try as much as possible to reward that person, make it be known that you are, and get them excited about the potential, because you wouldn't want to, first of all, lose that person because they're not motivated, because financially, sales is tough. You call in these leads, you're grinding, you're out there. It's not an easy job to be able to do that day in and day out. So the monetary um, compensation, I think, is a big part of the puzzle. And it when I hear agents, they get a little bit scared maybe of, wow, if you pay out that much, like, what are you gonna be okay? It's like they're actually worried about me, like, are you making any money? You know, well, if you have enough agents that are doing that, even though I only make a little bit off each agent, if I have enough agents, that makes it up. But we're also in it for the long run. I'm just trying to build a business. They're trying to pay the rent. They're thinking more short term, and I'm okay. Like, I'm okay to see the renewals come in. And the PGB certainly helps. But if you're growing your agency, I could see that Farmers is very serious about helping out the bigger agency. If you're growing your agency, even if you're paying out a lot, the return is going to come. There's going to be rate increases. The I've just kind of like, I'm not very analytical. I just kind of go off feel and intuition. But the more money I spend on marketing, the more money I spend on staffing, it comes back to me. It's a philosophy of just giving first and then getting back later, and that has proven to work for me.
So then let's jump into the staffing side. So we did have a question in the chat. What process do you go through to hire? Do you do the recruiting? Is someone in the agency responsible for that? And what is your interview process like?
Oh, sure. Well, Shelly, you're the one who told me about Ideal Traits recently.
I did.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Yeah, my most recent hire is from there.
Cool.
It's kind of funny because you see like these they just describe it in one word, and you see someone
Did you do the assessment on yourself?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you have to, and you have to report back.
Okay.
100%.
What if it says? Yeah, I'm almost scared. It might say like procrastinator. I'm like.
I'm not going to tell you my results because the first part was good, and then the second part I was like, oh, okay, so that's awkward. No, it was good. It's a really good assessment.
Yeah.
You should send it to every staff member that you have too. That's the most interesting part. The people you've
Yeah,
already.
sure. That's a great idea. I don't know why I didn't think of doing it for myself. But yeah, it's been great because like I literally see someone that says sales leader. I'm like, there's 100 assessment. There's only one sales leader. I was like, okay, well, this person I got to talk to, and I hired that person.
Totally.
But when it comes to recruiting, I do it myself, and I try to like save a lot of time by emailing them a few questions like, hey, well, what motivates you, and then if they send like if they can't put two sentences together, I'm just like, okay, well, you can't write professionally, so that weeds a lot of people out.
Okay.
And then I have them say, hey, call this number, and leave a voicemail. I say most likely I won't be available, but please leave a voicemail, and then call and voicemail because a lot of what we do, so I'll listen to that voicemail like that doesn't sound good, or I say, oh, that was a professional voicemail, that sounded great, so they'll move on to the next step. So I try not to really spend that much. I try to make it as efficient as possible, and then set up a Zoom conference now, before the Zoom conference, I'll talk to them. So I'll have a conversation over phone because I want to make judgments before seeing them. How do they sound? Because most of our clients aren't going to see them, but they are going to write and hear their voice. So I make a lot of, by the time I see them, I'm kind of thinking like, okay, we had a great conversation. We've written back and forth. You know how to write professionally and talk professionally. So I try to not to like, okay, well, boom, like let's come into my office without even knowing if they sound good over the phone or, so I try to get that process out of the way. By the time they come in, make it to the office, if they pass the Zoom conference, if they pass the emails, pass the voicemail, pass the phone interview, do the Zoom conference, by the time they come into my office, it's almost like just to finalize it.
Sure.
Because the last thing I want to do is just have a bunch of people come in and out all day long, especially with this COVID thing, to have people come into my office. I just don't want to make it as efficient as possible. So, but 100% the process, well, at the end, they will talk to some of my staff members, but not 95% of the hiring decisions and the screening processes is is my responsibility.
Okay.
That's such an important decision. Like I would hate to put the responsibility to a staff member and put the burden on them and let them know that they made the right decision or not, because that's a financially huge, even no matter how much pay, big decision to decide who you're going to hire, who you're going to pay, and who you're going to spend time with. So that is definitely something I feel agency owners should be doing.
Something else I wanted to highlight, if you guys are on Instagram, you need to follow Dan. Because something I know, I'm like, he's paying me on the side for this. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, it's true. It's super good coaching. It's really good insight into what you do every day, which, to be honest with you, is a huge reason why we have been so involved in working together and, you helping our agents, and you're providing really great feedback because you're in it. You're in the trenches every single day, and you wear many, many hats. We just added recruiting onto the training and everything else that you're doing. So Do you have like a certain way that you time block? Because I know for a fact a lot of agents right now are probably thinking like, how and when am I supposed to squeeze in all of this time to recruit and do the follow-ups and work on the interviews? So I know daily pretty much you post a lot of the goals that you have for the day, maybe like 4 or 5 different things, major things that you have going on. So how is there a strategic thing behind that on how you time block your day, or is it just whatever needs to get done is you kind of prioritize that? And how do you fit recruiting into that?
Yeah. Well, recruiting sometimes, depending on the agency situation, that could be more passive or more aggressive. Like if I know someone's going on maternity leave or someone's not going to work out, or if I, you know, feel the sense that that person's not really that engaged, so this person might quit. Just going off intuition, I'm thinking like, okay, I probably need to like start looking for somebody. I'm always recruiting, but certain times it's just more necessary than others. Like right, well, right now, yeah. So right now I still am, but there's certain times during the year that I'm just like I just can't take a new person right now. So recruiting is not that important, and I'm not actively doing it. I think during the morning I'll email the team. That's the first thing first. My employees take priority, then my customers. So I'll email my employees like what's on my mind, the stats, the motivational quote, um, and try to pump them up through just email too. So I'll send that out the first thing in the morning. Then I start emailing people back. But I think in our business, it's very hard to time block because you just have to be available. If an important client calls and you just want to be available to take that call. So I don't, and I have meetings like this scheduled. So these things will happen, and then I have reviews scheduled. So I will have a schedule, but I like to leave a lot of unscheduled time for whatever comes at you that day. An employee friend died, so they want, she's like very sad and needs someone to talk to. Like, okay, well, like I'm not gonna, I need to be available, or if, um, a UQI thing pops up and I'm like, okay, I need to have a schedule. I need to have a meeting about, the houses. We have to like do them right. So just being available is super important. So during the day, it is almost whatever that comes at you. If a sell opportunity comes, you got to jump on that. If a training opportunity or if a customer service opportunity comes, I jump on that. So I try not to have my day scheduled where it's like every minute is scheduled, because then you wouldn't be available for whatever comes through your day. When it comes to time blocking, I like to time block Sunday mornings when it's really quiet. The kids are asleep. I woke up early. It's just me in my office at home. It's very quiet. And I like to just time block that day to really deep critical thinking of what I'm going to do big picture wise. So I like to not sit in my office during the weekdays and make major plans or strategy or like, marketing campaigns or, lead vendors, what to contact. And I try to plan out my week and even months during those really quiet times. So I time block big times to strategize. But during the day, like a Monday or during the day, I'm just running around, just doing whatever I have to do that day. But yeah, I time block meetings, one-on-ones, those type of things. But yeah, I understand. We have, as agency owners, we all have to wear many hats, and being available for our team, I think, is one of the things where I'm very aware of. So I don't want to time block too much. So it's a balance. We have to do both. We have to be available, but we also have to make time for ourselves to plan things. But I will say that when it comes to like really deep thinking of like who you need to hire, what's my next 5 moves? It's like a chess game. What do I need to do next to grow my agency? Those type of things should be done during the weekend, and then during the week it's just prospecting, it's just hiring, it's just the daily activities, the micro and then the weekends I think about the macro.
Good. Okay, we're gonna look. We're gonna look at some of the other questions that were chatted in. So if you still have a few more, I genuinely could talk to Dan for hours, and I know he would hate that. But We could actually talk about this forever, but we have to respect his time. So we don't have a ton of time left, but so we'll get into the rest of these questions. So how do you manage or coach a producer that has consistently low results?
That's a tough one. I will find out, hey, what am I doing wrong? Like, what do you need from me? You know, sometimes if the results aren't that good, it's like it's not what are they doing wrong? It's like what am I doing wrong? Am I not giving enough leads? Am I not, motivating you enough? Am I not training you enough? And it's okay to have someone that's not doing well have a different role. It's like having superstars on a team, but there's role players too.
Mhm.
We need bench players just in case someone's out sick to be able to step up if necessary. We need the customer service. We need the defensive player. And we need rookies too. Like a team, very unrealistic to think I'm going to have 10 superstars. You
Mhm.
know, we're going to have 3 or 4 superstars, and everyone's trying to become superstars, but they're still very valued as a team. So I try to find ways to motivate them. And hey, you're still helping us with this. Do you really want to be in sales? It's hard. Is that what you really want to do? Are you willing to take a little bit less base pay to have more higher income potential? I just try to have conversations and try to fit them in where they could succeed in. So if they're having issues with sales, it's okay. Maybe it's not for them. They could still help us out in different ways. There's nothing wrong. It's just maybe they're not hungry to make that commission. Maybe they want something a little bit more secure, stable. Maybe they're just more providers and they're more, customer service. They're not a hunter. There's just, if they're not working well with sales, then I think just having a frank conversation and figuring out how they can help you, because as long as they have a good attitude and good activity, there's going to be roles you can fit them into.
Mhm.
So if they're not doing great in sales, then I try to either see what I'm doing wrong, or we talk about maybe switching different roles.
Do you feel that it's like that because you hired them? So like you obviously saw something promising in them. So is that why you take kind of some of the responsibility for their success?
Yeah, yeah. Since I hired them, I mean, everybody has a choice where they want to work, So it's like I almost feel like guilty, like I have to make sure like I'm doing my job so they have the opportunity. If I
Yeah.
hire somebody and say, hey, you're gonna be able to do this, and they're not, then I'm like, oh shoot, I feel like I like kind of like bait and switched you into a dead end job here. So I feel like it's my responsibility to think like, okay, well, how can I help you?
Mhm.
How can we help each other?
Yeah.
So sales is just one piece of the puzzle. That's not everything. It's a huge part of the puzzle, but that's the hardest one to find. And you really can't sometimes tell if they're going to be good at it, because there's a licensing process, there's a product knowledge process. It's such a long process to be able to find a good salesperson. And that's why when you do find a good salesperson, you want to do everything you can to reward that person, because they're that hard to find.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked about this before, and maybe it's changed, but when you're hiring producers, you don't like immediately always go after someone that's already licensed. Is that right? You kind of like build them up and kind of mold them into how you want them to be, or do you just try to find people that are already ready to go pretty much to be appointed?
Well, yeah, I usually find people that have no experience in the insurance industry. And that's really not by choice. It's kind of just because I can't find people that already have license that are looking for jobs.
Maybe
Uh,
ideal traits will help with that.
yeah, so I haven't been able to interview people that have a license already.
Interesting.
I do have someone from the district. The district sent me somebody I'm going to talk to on Monday.
Good.
So I'm looking forward to that. He has a license, and that may help. But even if they don't have a license, if they have a good activity and good, I keep saying the activity and attitude part, I'm very patient. So it's going to take maybe a whole year for them to be able to get licensed and know what they're doing and sell.
Mhm.
But in the big picture thing, if for 1 year, as long as they start off with a reasonable amount, it's such a good investment. And
Mhm.
even if it doesn't work out, that wasn't it's not the end of the world. So that's something that I feel like I've gotten better at, as trying to find people that are thinking long term, that understand that it's going to be difficult, it's not going to be easy, that are resilient, that are more career oriented. You definitely don't want to go. I don't like to look for people that are like, yeah, I want to try insurance, but I'm really going to school to become this. Like, well, then that's not a good fit for us, because I'm thinking long term. And if your dream is to not be in insurance, I just want people with their goal is to become an insurance agent. Like, I want to be a professional insurance agent, then I could work with you. So yeah, but and even if they have experience, if their attitude or their activity isn't good, then I'd rather start from the beginning and get them licensed rather than find somebody that's already licensed but uh, aren't hard workers, because that's just a process that 6 months you could get done. So
Yeah.
I would rather look for a better quality person than experience.
Okay, we have a question. We have two questions regarding staffing. All right, well, one is about yourself. So do you sell in your agency, or do you manage and source leads? Do you sell?
Yeah, the
How do you
short
have
question.
time to do all of that, Dan, honestly?
You know what? Today's the 14th, and I haven't sold a single policy this month, and that's very embarrassing. But usually I'll sell about 10,000 a month.
Okay.
I don't I don't feel like you never want to be too good to sell. That's a stupid way to think. Like, I want to sell, but if I have a referral, I'll send it to my top producer, because I'd rather have her make the commission, um it's, because the way I look at it, like, the recruiting, the training, the marketing budget, the marketing campaigns, what type of videos to make, what type of pictures to take, the creative stuff. You can't really expect the employer to do that for you. Those are like high level things. But when it comes to sales, even as hard as sales is, and as customer service, those are things you can hire to do. So I like to delegate my job into, I don't want to say the most important, but the most difficult ones. The most difficult is like, how am I going to spend my money, or who I'm going to hire. Those are decisions that you can't expect an employer to do for you. So the sales, they can. So even and luckily, I've gotten to a position where I have somebody where I could throw them any type of life or commercial policy, and she'll know how to handle it. So I have that trust to be able to like give it off to somebody, and they'll be able to do it just better than me. But I think in the beginning, you have to do both. You have to be selling, because once I learned how to sell, then I was able to teach somebody else how to sell. But if you don't know how to do it yourself, then you can't really teach it. So if we have some newer agents here, then in the first 5 years, first 3 years, you know, it's mostly selling, but your roles change. And I think the important thing of growing your agency is to have your roles adapt as you go. So I don't want people to think like, oh, okay, I'm not going to sell anymore, I'm just going to hire people. But maybe your budget isn't in that situation. You have to build up a few years of having renewals in to be able to do that. So sometimes I get a little worried about what I say I'm doing now, because that's not how it all started. It all started with me grinding, calling internet leads, and showing somebody to do that. That person started getting busy, so we hired a customer service. That person started getting it, so that person got licensed. Then we looked for another customer service. It's just so many small steps that got me to where my agency is, and I'm more excited about where it's going to go. But I don't want anyone to I want people to get excited, because the potential is there, and you guys have some incredible agents within your district that's putting out crazy numbers. So the potential is there, but I also don't want people to look at that and get a little discouraged, be like, so well, they're so further out that it's going to be impossible, because it does take time. So patience is one of the things that I think has really helped me with myself and with staff.
Okay, this is, I think, the last question on chat. Are all of your producers on the same comp structure, or is it different per person? And then a follow-up to that is asking about office hours. So do all of your staff work the same kind of hours during the day, or do you have some that come in just in the afternoon or on the weekend?
Yeah, everybody's compensation is the same. I don't have any tiers. It's just too confusing, first of all. So everybody's the same. Now who gets more leads is different, but the compensation is the same. I have 3 shifts, so one's 8 to 5. That's the morning shift, and then I have 9 to 6, and then I have 10 to 7. So our office is open from 8 to 7. So that way we have more availability for our clients. Someone wants to call us at 6, they can. We're open till 7. So I have it staggered. So, we have more coverage throughout the week. And then Saturdays 10 to 2. I haven't, last year I missed like 3, I didn't work like 3 Saturdays. This year I'm gonna obviously work every single Saturday. But
What kind of results
Saturdays,
are you getting on Saturdays in California?
Saturdays is great. Sometimes we'll sell as much as we do, because we're only open half a day, 10 to 2, but we'll sell as much as we do on a normal day. Well, that's kind of difficult, but we'll get to like at least half of what we sell on a normal day.
Yeah.
But some of the bigger conversations, and then we maybe close them during the rest of the week. But yeah, I mean, a big part of what we should be talking about is just how hard are we working. I think it's just very unrealistic to expect your producers to be working hard if we're not. It's just, it's not fair. Like, we're the ones that have the most financial incentives for this business to do well, but we're not putting in the effort as much as they are. And then for us to expect them to be motivated when we're not, so when people ask me like, hey, how do you motivate your team? I just say, hey, I just motivate them by just first looking at myself, like, am I motivated? I audit myself, like, am I putting in the effort? Because through osmosis, if they see myself, busting my ass, then they're naturally gonna see that, and they're gonna be like, okay, well, let me step up my game, because I'm in this culture where the leader is outworking everybody, So, and that spreads, but you can't really be the agent that's going on. Nothing wrong with vacations. I'll take one vacation once a year. But if you're going on multiple vacations, if you're spending money on vacations, not spending money on leads, and not being there, not being engaged, it's very difficult to get your staff motivated if you're not.
Yeah. So 2020 has been a crazy year. Thankfully, I think most agents are able to say that the income didn't necessarily have a huge dip as far as the new business goes, and a lot of agents have actually outproduced, on my team at least, outproduced their production from last year. So it's been a really great year. Since we don't have any new questions popping up, to wrap this up, I'm going to put you on the spot, Dan. What are three tips that you have, or your mindset is really one of my favorite things about you, because you're so grateful for the opportunity that Farmers has given you. And it's actually just really good perspective for me in particular, but I know some other agents feel the same way. So what are 3 things that you would say that you've learned so far in 2020 from a business owner perspective, or just kind of your 3 key takeaways to motivate our team?
Oh, wow. Yeah. You did put me on the spot.
I know.
I, I, I would say one, gratitude, number one. It's just such a horrible thing that's happening, but we're able to produce income at a level that, I will, we were affected in a little way, but not drastically. And depending on how you've been marketing, actually, it's been a little bit more busier. So this year is going to be the best year ever for us. So I almost, in a way, feel guilty that, the way the business is going compared to the rest of the world. So I almost feel like it's like my responsibility to like do well because of the situation that we're in. You know, it'd be disrespectful to like not work as hard right now because other people are like really struggling and we're just over here taking it for granted. It's like it would be bad. So first, I would say gratitude. Um, Second, I would say, you know, just really excited about the opportunity the company's headed. You know, the double down is something that, as a personal lines agent, you know, I don't know how long it's been since there's been a personal lines promotion like this. So just excitement of general way the company's headed and our industry is headed. Very excited about that, and to balance out, you know, all that, you know, gratitude and excitement, I will have to balance it out with patience, you know, because sometimes as being as ambitious as I am, sometimes you get a little bit discouraged because you're not really where you think you should be. And even I'll have days like that where I'm like, man, I should be like, you know, my 5th year in, I was like, I'm not PC agent yet, or 10th year in, I'm not PC agent. You can get really discouraged when you think about, or when you're comparing with other people. But I think when it comes to this business, it's such a long game. You know, you just have to think long term. So you have to balance. I'm really, even right now, when things start really going well, I try to get over aggressive and maybe start overextending myself. Maybe I'm buying too many leads, or I start hiring people and start taking shortcuts and not getting greedy, but like, you know, I start getting a little, my ambition starts taking over. I have to balance that out with patience. You know, it's like, okay, it's going to take some time. It's going to, you know, I did it one by one. There's no shortcuts in this business. So I would say the three things that's constantly on my mind right now this year has really taught me is still have gratitude, still have excitement because I'm really excited about the future, but balancing it out with patience.
That was perfect. See, I knew you'd do fine. I didn't have to prep you for everything. Well, very good, Dan. Thank you so much. As always, I appreciate your time. I wish we could just do like a whole afternoon of like a Facebook Live because I feel like we can cover a lot of really good topics. So anyways, I'll let you go. We appreciate you so much. Yeah, I think that's all we got. So thank you, Dan.
Okay, thank you so much, Shelly. I really love working with you guys. You guys are the only district that ever flew me out somewhere to talk. You know, so
You did them just right time too.
I'm always gonna have, you know, a connection with your district. You know, Team Obsessed. Jeff does a great job over there. Some of the messages, you know, that he shares with you guys is just right down my alley. So I feel you guys' energy, and really I get a lot out of, you know, just being part of your district too. You know, with the connections I made with some of your guys' top agents. So yeah, please let me know, because same here, Shelly. I could talk to you all day long about this stuff. So if you guys need anything or have any ideas that's helping you guys over there, please let me know, and I'd love to keep in touch with you guys. Definitely.
You're an honorary District 20 family member. We are so lucky to have a great relationship with you. I know I speak on behalf of all of our agents. So good luck. You got a few more days until folio close. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Thank you, Shelly. Thanks, everybody. See you guys. Thank you.